Episode 51 of the Habs Culture Podcast. My name is Mark Anthony Bertaja. I'm alongside Justin Schwartz. Today's a big day in terms of trades. It's Tuesday, February 28th. It's not the trade deadline. However, teams seem to think it's the trade deadline and they're going a bit crazy here, trading a lot of pieces, a lot of big name players, going to contenders as we reach the end of the midway mark of the season towards the playoffs. And yeah, we're gonna run through all these trades dating back to the Bo Horvat trade, and we'll make our way up to today. Currently, we're gonna be on our phones a lot because even Twitter is breaking some news as we speak. So we'll get into all that in this episode. It's gonna be fun.
I'm excited. Like I mentioned to you before, Mark, I'd like to see a little bit more action from Montreal, considering you got a healthy Edmondson coming back, and Monahan's still out, but Drouin's playing a little bit better. So you're hoping for a few moves. We've talked about the possibilities and what's possible for Ken Hughes and what's not possible for Ken Hughes, but I guess we'll have to wait and see in the next few days.
Yeah, and we'll get into this right away because we still got a lot of trades to go through, and we'll talk about the Habs, of course, about their little run of late. But let's begin with the New York Islanders, starting the domino effect, acquiring Bo Horvat in exchange for Anthony Beauvillier, Aatu Räty, in a conditional 2023 first-round pick. That goes to the Canucks, of course. Yeah, it's a good trade, I think, for the Islanders. I think they get a nice little over there. For the Canucks, it's too bad how it's been playing out recently. I think last year was the year to kind of do this. If they were to do a rebuild, I think last year was the year to start it, with new management coming in and before signing JT Miller and then kind of deciding what you're going to do with Thatcher Demko. And now you're kind of in a position where we're stuck with Miller, but we still got to rebuild. And, you're trading your captain for still a decent prospect and a good first round pick. It's a very deep draft. It's top 12 protected. That's the condition on it. However, I think it's still going to be out of the top 12, so they'll be fine. And, Anthony Beauvillier is still a good hockey player. So, all in all, not a horrible move. I just think the timing of it could have been dealt better for the Canucks' rebuild case, at least.
Yeah, it's a tough trade to evaluate, in my opinion, right? You can look at it from the outside looking in and say, well, it's a good trade for both sides. And for the most part, I do agree. And I do think, taking a chance on a guy like Aatu Räty, who was a very highly touted prospect going into his respective draft, fell off for his own reasons. But yeah, I mean, look, it's tough in that sense for Vancouver to have any sort of leverage in a trade for Bo Horvat, considering the stance and considering the contract talks prior to the trade. So look, I think for both sides, it should even out in the coming years. But look, the Isles went and got their big name guy.
They signed him to an 8 by 8.5 contract, if not mistaken. So good on Lou, making a little bit of a splash down in Long Island. As you'll tend to notice as the episode advances itself, the East is stacked. Even prior to all these trades, the East was already stacked, and it's going to keep getting even more stacked as we move along. So the next deal, and it was a pretty big one, I'm going to skip over some of the small little deals here. So I'm going to go to the next big one, which is February 9th, where the New York Rangers acquired Vladimir Tarasenko and defenseman Nico Mikola in exchange for Sammy Blais, Hunter Skinner, a conditional first in 2023, and a conditional fourth in 2024. That's a big one. The Rangers acquire an elite sniper who is very close friends with Aaron, apparently. So yeah, look, the Blues are clearly in their rebuild phase here. They get back Blais, who had a little stint with the Rangers. I don't know if he was anywhere else before. I think he was just the Rangers.
I think it was just Rangers in St. Louis.
Yeah, Rangers in St. Louis. They get their picks, and yeah, I think and we'll see at the next trade that the Blues are clearly going to start rebuilding and retooling around Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. So we'll see how that works out. I don't think it'll be a long retool given their aggressive GM and how he is usually. So yeah, it's in my opinion, a great trade for the Rangers.
Yeah, I like it. I think Tarasenko is a perfect top 6 complementary player, especially given what they already have given what they already have. And I think, look, he knows how to put the puck in the net. He's played some solid playoff hockey in his years with St. Louis, so I think he knows how to get the job done. And I think that's what ultimately the Rangers need. I think they proved last year that they're a team that can compete and knows how to win playoff games. But adding a guy like that who could put the puck in the back of the net definitely does not hurt.
Mhm. And then for the Blues, they get their first. They retain 50% on Tarasenko's cap, but he's expiring at the end of this year. No.
If I'm not mistaken, yes, you are correct. They
Yeah.
retained 3.75 million of his contract, so his contract was right there, just
Hmm.
a little over 7 million. Um, so yeah, but I will double check the expiring. He it expires. Yeah, this is the last year of his
Yeah.
seven
Okay.
and a half
Makes sense.
million dollar contract. Yeah.
Makes sense. The next big deal happened a few days later. It also included the St. Louis Blues, but this time they were offloading captain and center Ryan O'Reilly along with Nola Chari to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for Mikhail Abramov, Adam Gaudette, 2023 first, 2023 third, and a 2024 second. This one was a big one because Minnesota was also included in this deal to kind of make way for O'Reilly's contract to be 75% retained. So the max is 50% when it includes two teams. Once you add that third team, they can add an additional 25%. And obviously, um, the max is 75%. Like the team acquiring a player can't not pay anything to their contract. And they acquire Ryan O'Reilly. Already the Leafs are stacked at the center position. They acquire Ryan O'Reilly, who in my opinion is like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it here. That's a very good acquisition when you go into the playoffs. I'm a big O'Reilly guy. I was kind of sad the Habs couldn't get him back in the day when he was leaving Buffalo, and I think the price was too steep at the time, which is fine. Um, but for Dubas, he didn't want to give up his first last year when it came to Fleury and Hagel and all that, and now he goes all in here for O'Reilly and getting a depth piece in Achari.
Personally, I like it.
Hmm.
I do. I think you kind of said it best. But O'Reilly's someone that you want to have in the playoffs, considering the Leafs' history in the playoffs, and you want someone that knows how to win games and big time games. He won a cup, so he knows what he's doing. And honestly, Nola Chari is perfect for their bottom six, right? It's an add-in piece to the trade, but at the end of the day, the Leafs have struggled in their bottom six. They're very front loaded, but when it comes to their bottom six and contribution from their bottom six, they usually lack in that area. So to get a guy like him to complement the bottom six and Ryan O'Reilly, who can kind of play a little bit of wing, but can also shut down probably any given line in the league on a good day. I think that's a move that was necessary for the Leafs.
So the past two trades included the St. Louis Blues. So quickly off these, after losing O'Reilly and Tarasenko, obviously the depth pieces in Achari and Mikola, they acquired two first round picks, a third, a second, and a fourth. In this year's draft, they have three first round picks.
And that's coming from
The
a St. Louis team that already has most of their
Yeah,
foundation built, right? So
yeah, exactly. So very good on Doug Armstrong's part. Um, Kent Hughes wanted a third first round pick for this year's draft. Of course, the Canadians have two. I don't think it's going to happen, if I'm being quite honest with you, which is unfortunate, unless I think the only piece that could fetch a first is Josh Anderson. But as of right now, there's no chatter on that front. So, um, look, good for the Blues. I really like that. Three first round picks in this year's draft is quite good. So we'll see how they do with that in 5 years' time. But when we record that episode, we'll talk about it. All right. um, moving on from the St. Louis Blues double trade there. Quickly, Tyler Mott goes back to the New York Rangers. That's another addition the Rangers made on top of Tarasenko. He was acquired from the Senators. Um, and this is a big one, at least in Habs Nation. Um, the Arizona Coyotes acquired defenseman Shea Weber and a fifth round pick for Dustin Mayo. Yeah, Dustin with a Y. Dustin Mayo.
no, Dyson.
Is it Dyson? Oh, it
It's
is
D
Dyson.
Dustin with a Y.
I don't know. The Y was, I don't know. I'm tweaking it. It got me. Anyway, Dyson.
You're good.
Is that how you spell? Dyson, like the
Like the
vacuum?
like like the air, like the And I don't know. Dyson. No, I
Is it?
think it's Dyson. This is
Oh, S-O-N. Yeah,
Dysin.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. Okay, nice name, Dyson. Shea Weber, obviously, it's the contract that goes to Arizona. Arizona loves to stash LTIR money into their little LTIR pot, so they'll add more to it. Again, I wish I knew what the advantage was here. I don't. There's clearly an advantage of unless they're not putting him on LTIR and just trying to reach the cap floor. But apparently, there's like advantages to having like a bunch of cap room and LTIR and not. I don't know. Anyways, um, it's above my pay grade, but we'll move on.
I think overall, if I'm not mistaken, it's more just the contract, regardless of where the money actually ends up. It's the fact that Arizona can actually take on that contract, whereas Vegas, having him on LTIR now, like considering that they'll probably send Stone to LTIR, and considering that I think they just, I mean, I think this was before the trade was actually made, but I think it was just a question of freeing up enough space on that LTIR because 8 million is not chump change.
Hmm.
So now they're able to maneuver whatever they feel is necessary, and Arizona being a team that could take on that cap, might as well.
Yeah, very true. That's a good point. Very good point. Um, Zaitsev finally got moved from the Senators. He goes to Chicago. Chicago, they took a bad contract for a second and a fourth. Not bad when you have cap room. That's what we call maximizing cap space, ladies and gentlemen, which the Habs can't do, unfortunately. But in a
Unfortunately,
rebuild, you'd love to be able to do that, but given the circumstances, they're unable to do so. Moving on, next big trade: the Boston Bruins, first in the league. I think they're still first in the league.
yep,
Acquired Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway from the Washington Capitals in exchange for Craig Smith at 2023 first, 2025 second, and 2024 third. Um, yeah, Dmitry Orlov to the Bruins. We were expecting Gavrikov. I think a lot of people were, but they go get Orlov, excuse me, and Hathaway. Which look, already stacked team. Gonna add some more better players, some better players,
hmm,
and yeah, good
yeah.
move, good move for both teams.
You know what? I was a big fan of it right off the bat, particularly for the reason that it's not that I have anything against a guy like Gavrikov or even Edmondson for that matter, but it's more just the fact that I thought that this was going to be a trade deadline like a few others that we've seen in recent history where teams were going to overpay for the defenseman. And we saw that with Ben Sherratt last year, and look how that turned out for Florida, right? It was a big win for Montreal and a big loss for Florida, where they barely got anything out of Sherratt. But all that to say is that I think Dmitry Orlov in this case is more of a game changer. I think he's more a little bit more proven than a guy like Gavrikov, and I think that he actually has a little bit more to his game. And I think by adding that player, is like you know what you're getting and you know what he's going to provide for you. Not nothing against a guy like Gavrikov, but more just you're a little bit more confident with that move for Orlov, in my opinion, at least.
Hmm. And for those questioning why Dmitry Orlov was moved, they couldn't come to a contract agreement, and I think better than losing him for free, might as well get some assets for him, and they got a nice first round pick and a very stacked draft. So good for them. Good for them. Habs legend Keith Kincaid got traded to the Colorado Avalanche, which is fun. Always fun to see legends get moved around. Finally, the Rangers have moved on from forward Vitaly Kravtsov, who goes to the Canucks in exchange for William Lockwood and a seventh round pick. Um, we were having a very, very good lunch at Cafe Gentile when this trade went down.
Hmm.
We're not sponsored by Cafe Gentile. However, I like to throw these in here and there because if someone from Gents is listening, like if we could have some iced tea every episode,
Or some chicken cutlet, like
some
I don't know.
yeah, some chicken cutlets.
Yeah,
Um, look, I'm just saying these episodes would be a lot longer, and I don't know, we'd be in a very good mood every time. We always are in a good mood, but like
some yeah. You know what? Now I'm craving some Gentile's
you
iced tea.
are, eh?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really am.
yeah.
Whatever. Why'd you
Well,
have to do that?
sorry. Well, if they're listening, hit us up. You know where to get us. You know where
There
our
you go.
email is. So yeah, Vitaly Kravtsov to the Canucks. Low risk, high reward potential move for the Canucks. We'll see what happens. I kind of wanted him in Montreal, but hey, um,
We got our
there's
own
nothing to do.
reclamation project.
Yeah, we got our own to deal with now, and we'll get to
Yeah.
that right now. Actually, where the Montreal Canadiens trade beloved Evgeny Dadonov to the Dallas Stars in exchange for Denis Guryanov, 25-year-old right winger.
Former first round pick.
former first round pick, scored 20 goals in 60 games a few seasons back. Um, look, why not?
Look, to me, I'm just someone that believes more in taking on a player that actually might have some potential than taking on, like in this case, a potential fifth or sixth round pick,
Yeah,
right? You don't, first of all, a fifth or sixth round pick is a very low, you're very low probability of actually hitting on those picks. And now you're getting a guy that has actually proven something in this league. Not a ton for that matter. But again, 25 years old, has put up a 20 goal season or two. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it might just be one, right? Anyway, I can
yeah.
double
Just
check that.
it was a shortened period of time. That's why people bring it up.
Right. So anyway, but look, there's something there. There's something there, and look, everyone is freaking out about. Look, let's see what St. Louis can do for him as a player. Let's see what he can. Look, let's give that a little bit of time because he's had his time in the league to prove his worth and hasn't gone to that point yet. Um, but again, I think that there's a lot. Oh my God, there's not a lot of downside, in my opinion.
Mhm. If I'm not mistaken, he's playing with the first line tonight with Suzuki tonight in San Jose.
Yeah,
So
that's
we'll
what
get
it
to
looks
see
like.
him skate around with those guys tonight. Yeah, to Dadonov, thank you, I guess, for helping with the tank somewhat. Did you see his goal last night? He scored
Yeah,
Dallas, and obviously in his first game. He scored. I've
wild.
never seen that man move like that in my life. The guy turned on the Jets,
It's
like
so
through the
fun.
neutral zone, head down, boom.
It's actually wild because I don't know if you're seeing this on Twitter, but everyone's like, he never did this in Montreal. What's that all about? And I mean, like, give the guy a break here. Like, are we really expecting? Like, look, don't get me wrong, it was a great play, but you're playing on a top, in my opinion, a top team in the league, with some of the top players. You're excited to be in a new environment. Because look, the Montreal environment this year has been nothing short of depressing, in my opinion. Right, like a lot of injuries
Yeah,
and not a lot of success. There's not much going on. And look, he's not very familiar with that specific environment. So, I mean, give the guy a break. I don't think everyone's expecting Evgeny Dadonov magic in Montreal. I think you were shooting for the stars there.
yeah. Well, now I got to return my jersey. If they'll take it back. Um,
I also wanted to just mention quickly that
yeah.
Denis Gurianov is an RFA at the end of the season, and he does have arbitration rights.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't seem to be, and including myself, and I think I might be speaking for you as well, but don't seem to be concerned by the arbitration. Just considering that he hasn't really proven too much in this league to the point where he would merit more than he's already made. So again, if he finishes off the season strong and merits a contract extension with Montreal as an RFA, then it could be pretty team friendly in that case.
I think whenever it comes to negotiations, I'm not very nervous in general when it comes to Kent Hughes. He knows what he's
Yeah, that's
doing.
true.
I
He's
think
been
it's his
he's been down
forte.
that path. Yeah.
That's his forte, and especially when we saw like the first arbitration case where we're looking at Rem Pitlick and we're like, are they gonna send to arbitration? They're like, nope, straight to waivers, and everyone's like, oh my god, what the hell? Like that's Rem, like what are you doing? And then
Yeah.
it was a good decision after all. So like
Right.
that was his first like, what's he gonna do? And he went the bold way, and it worked out. So I'm not too
Absolutely.
nervous about big man Kent. Next, the Blues once more. Doug Armstrong has been on the
Sorry, do you
phones.
wanna before you get to that one, you wanna just talk briefly about the Nino Niederreiter one to Winnipeg?
Oh yeah, I jumped over that given it's the Jets.
Fair enough.
Need a
Fair enough.
rider to the Jets for a second. The Jets are. I feel bad for the Jets. I mean, honest. If you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, how do you build a team knowing no one wants to be there? You know what I
It's
mean?
pretty, yeah, it's depressing.
It's like you built a great team a few years back and went to the Western Conference Finals, and because of the way it was managed cap wise, you kind of had to lose some big names on defense and a few names up front, and then you go through the whole Line saga, get rid of him, get an extremely good player in return, Pierre-Luc Dubois. He wants to come home, which yippee, he wants to be a Hab. And then you're looking at Scheifele, who's a UFA next year, Wheeler's who's a UFA next year. You have Morrissey locked in, which is amazing. He'll probably be your captain. So you're looking at this team and you go, Well, if Dubois leaves, is Scheifele gonna stay? Probably not. I just stripped Wheeler of his captaincy. Do you really think he's gonna stay? No. So what's the move? Obviously, this year they have to go all in because I think they have a very good roster. But in the future, it's like, do you start trading these assets and building around Cal Connor? Like, what's going on here? And you're kind of in the middle. So um, for the Jets, look, Niederreiter, I think he adds a little bit of depth, but at the end of the day, I think their roster still, like forward wise, is very good in the West. They're
Mhm.
fine in the West, as John Morant would say. They're fine.
Mhm, they're fine in the West, yeah.
Especially if the West is pretty weak. I think they're fine in the West.
Yeah. I can agree, for
But
sure.
yeah, PLD, number 3 is waiting for you, bud.
Let's see if he actually comes through on his all that talk about wanting to be in Montreal.
Well, Friedman, when he says something, it's probably gonna happen. Like, there's a 90% chance it's gonna happen because he's not the type of guy to open his mouth and say something that won't be true or that because you're dealing with not just fans and speculation, you're dealing with players and their families and teams and whatever. So you can't just start saying stuff for no reason. And when he says something, usually it's gonna happen. And I don't know if you listened to like one of their podcasts recently. I can't tell you which one it was. When he was talking about the Jets, and he mentioned, Shifley, Wheeler, all that stuff. But he mentioned Dubois' eyes, his future is set on Montreal. And for him to just say that so casually kind of means that like that's kind of the decision, and that's what everyone knows in Winnipeg. It's like
Right.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So
that would be look, we'll get into that I'm sure at one point as the off season approaches and as there's more talk surrounding the potential for that type of move. But yeah, absolutely. It's tough to be I mean the Jets in my opinion, again, you look at the West and for the West, they're a good team. They're a good team and
mhm,
they're built pretty nicely. I mean their decor lacks a little bit. But top 9, top 12, they're a pretty well built team. So it sucks for their team, their fan base to continuously lose out on players year after year after year after year
mhm.
and have very little success in the playoffs, right? Except for that one run that they made in whatever year it was. I couldn't even name it to you at this point. Um, that which was crazy, by the way, that whiteout in
It
Winnipeg,
was
that was
yeah, it
unreal.
was Vegas' inaugural season.
Right. So that was what 2020 or 2019? 2019, I believe. When
Or
when they
2018. I don't even know.
2018, yes, when Washington won the cup, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Washington won the cup.
yeah. So that was wild. But all that to say is that it must suck. Like we have a hard time getting players, like attracting players, but once the players get here, they like to stay. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no,
they kind of
and exactly.
yeah. But they have the
It
problem of actually getting them here or they have the problem of retaining them, which sucks.
the problem of both, like tracking them and
Yeah,
retaining
that's
them,
true. That's true.
you know?
That's true.
Um, but yeah, look, for the Jets, they always had like I've always really liked their forward core. Like they've always had an extremely good core forward core. And yeah, it's a tough position to be in when like you said, the fans, it's tough when players are constantly leaving. Especially that
Hmm.
Dubois had so much success there, and now he's just gonna well, like he's coming to us, I'm not really gonna complain. And
Right.
this is the first time, I don't think I've ever been alive where a player has or since I've been alive, a player has said, "You know what? I want Montreal or nothing." I've seen it
And
happen
especially
many, many times with the Rangers, but
right.
never with the Canadians.
But especially when it's a player like Pierre-Luc Dubois, like we like he's in look, he's throughout his career so far, he's been about a point per game player. He's still
Mhm,
young and he still has a lot of room for improvement. And it's a question of well, when's the last time that you've had like a significant player say that they want to play in Montreal? You knew
mhm.
Drew, I wanted was happy to be a part of Montreal the second he was traded there from Tampa. But when have you actually had a player like him who has said like it's that or nothing? Like
Yeah,
never,
Drew,
never.
it wasn't really that or nothing, it was kinda just get me the hell out of here, but,
Right. And then he was
um
very happy to be in Montreal, but
yeah, 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 but, it'd be cool because if it's truly Montreal nothing, that trade value descends rapidly
yep,
because you're
exactly.
holding all the cards. You can say, "Okay, he'll come to me for free. I'll give you a little something," you know?
Look,
But
55 points in 60 games this year, 60 points in 81 last year. Like he's a dynamic player. He's a dynamic player, and I mean, adding to what Montreal will already have at that point would be would be quite a sight.
Yep.
But I guess we're gonna have to put our patience cap on and wait it out a little bit longer because again, like you said, the draft, sorry, not the draft value, the trade value will decline. However, is it worth even trading anything at that point once he hits the UFA market? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. We're gonna move on here. I'm gonna skip over a few little small ones. Here we're gonna go through another St. Louis Blues trade. Ivan Barbashev gets moved to the Vegas Golden Knights for Zach Dean, who's a prospect. We all knew Barbashev was moving. We know to where or what the price would be. And yeah, that's pretty. It's a pretty good deal for Vegas. I think. I don't think they gave up too much. I've heard like I was hearing weeks before that like the ask was a first, and I'm like, wow, if you're gonna give a 2023 first for Barbashev, you're kind of out of your mind here. But they just gave away a prospect, and I think Vegas has no prospects. So to find one and move him is pretty impressive.
And even on top of the fact that Zach Dean 2021 first round pick right at the back end of the first round, he's been over point per game consistently in the queue. I mean, look, it's a player that for a team that's in, we'll call it the retooling phase at this point. You're adding a guy that now is 20 years old. Next year he'll turn 21 years old. He's going to be kind of part of that core group, and it might not necessarily be in a top six role, but if it's in a middle six or even bottom six role, it's still a question of where this team is going and if they're moving in the same direction at the same time, kind of like what we want Montreal to be doing. Then I mean, you're going to be a pretty successful team.
Mhm. Yep. All right, the big one of the most recent of the past few days, which happened February 26th, actually a few days ago, 2 days ago. Um, all right, let's finally. It's a long list to go through, but we'll get through it. San Jose finally deals Timo Meyer, and it goes to the New Jersey Devils. And we kind of expected New Jersey to be the big player in this, and I'm not surprised that they ended up being that team, given the teams in New York that have kind of been going all in. Horvat, and then the Rangers will get into it. But already they acquired Tarasenko in our little timeline here, but um, yeah. So they acquire Timo Meyer, Scott Harrington, Santeri Hataka, Timur Ibragimov, Zachary Emo, a fifth round pick in 2024. So that's everything that the Devils acquired. Excuse me. The Sharks acquired Andreas Janssen. The big prospect in this deal is Shakir. I'm gonna butcher this. I'm so sorry. Makamadulan.
You got
Not
it.
bad. I
No, you
got it.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nikita. I might butcher this too. Okotiuk.
Yeah, I think it's like Okut. Yeah. You're I'm not even gonna I was about to try,
Did they
but
do
no.
this on purpose? Like, why they do this?
Yeah,
Like, what?
honestly.
They're like, yeah, let's get all the podcasters to fumble their words. Fabian Zetterlund, a 2023 first round pick, a 2024 conditional first round pick, and a 2024 seventh round pick. So, a lot of moving pieces. But if we kind of move everything aside, apart from all the roster moves in the AHL and NHL, it's practically Timo Meyer for Shakir Mukhamadullin, a first and two firsts, excuse me. And maybe Zetterlund. I don't know the quality of these prospects and these players, but if we're looking at the big picture, that's what we're kind of looking at. Um, to me, underwhelming.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
have
know
to
about
agree.
you. Underwhelming from the Sharks' perspective, because if you're waiting out this long to not get, especially if we're looking at the Devils here, let's look at the Devils here, and you're not getting a Dawson Mercer or um, what's his name,
Holtz?
Holtz, Alexander Holtz.
Yeah.
I'd be quite sad if I was a Sharks fan.
Yeah. No, I can completely agree with that. The one thing I will give to San Jose in this case, and when I say give to them is this is solely based on potential here, is I think that this can be because when you're dealing with so many names, there's an increased possibility of one of these guys or even two of these guys panning out, correct? And if you look back to the Devils trade with the Sens, right, when it was sending Eric Carlson from the Sens to the Sharks, in return they received Josh Norris, a first round pick that ended up turning into Tim Stützle. All of that to say is that I think that when you're dealing with so many pieces, there's the potential that some of these guys might be diamonds in the rough or they might actually end up panning out. And in this case, Shakir Mukhamadullin, who's playing pretty well in the KHL right now. I don't even want to try Tiuk. Look, it's just there's the
Yeah.
potential that these guys actually might pan out, and right now might have no name value, and right now might not be known to the general public. But give it a few years and let them develop in an organization where now it's in a full. It's clearly that they're moving towards a full rebuild. Maybe they'll actually be a big piece of the potential future in San Jose.
Yeah, and 2 firsts. Can't really
There
push
you
that
go.
aside, it's very
One's
important.
conditional, correct?
Yeah, the
It's a second round that's
2024.
conditional. Yeah,
Yeah, and Malcolm Abdulin, I think he was drafted Cooley's draft? It was one of the online drafts, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember that pick happening, and I'm going, "Wow, what a name."
I'm gonna
Um,
check that out right now. He was drafted in 2020, 20th overall by New Jersey, obviously. Um, yeah, I think 2020 that was
yeah, Cooley. Yeah.
yeah, Gooley, correct. Yeah, so he's 19 years old, 6'4", 180 pounds. Look, I know who knows? I think he's in the top 20 for scores by a defenseman, by scores by a defenseman in the KHL right now, which is
Mhm.
really impressive for a 19-year-old, right? So who knows what he'll turn into, but it might be a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, exactly. Now this trade boggled a lot of minds, to say the least. If I'm trying to trade a player, I feel like the first person I call would be Julien Brisebois. Like,
If
given the recent
well,
trade deadline deals that he's done.
well,
Um,
if you have like a third line, if you have a perfect third line wing or
yeah.
center, then head
Just
his
call
way.
him, man. Like, I wouldn't even talk to anyone else. So in this case, Nashville Predators, new GM, which we'll talk about right now because since it's their first trade here, David Poyle, who has been their GM for the entire franchise's history, which I think is about 30 years, maybe a bit more, um, steps down and retires out of the blue. It's kind of about time to retire, like right before a trade deadline, and comes in Barry Trotz, very good coach, who wanted to be in upper management and kind of got a very good role right off the bat, GM, bam. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, this was his first move. Oh, or was his first move? No, it was Nino Niederreiter. Sorry. Yeah, because I skipped over Nino Niederreiter, unfortunately. Yeah, Nino Niederreiter, that was his first move. But his first significant move here was trading Tanner Janot to the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for, now get ready for this, hold your horses, Cal Foot, a 2023 fifth, 2023 fourth, 2023 third, 2024 second, and a 2025 first. So that's a fifth, a fourth, a third, a second, and a first. Like, what? And Cal Foot. Like,
That's wild.
what was that conversation? Yeah, go through my draft list, choose which ones you want. I'll give you five
Literally
minutes.
though,
Choose one you want, and I'll give it to you.
it's
Just don't take over
I don't.
six. Come on, take about five of them. You choose.
Yeah, yeah. Take your pick, but I don't know. It's funny because look, he's clearly a player that they were interested in, considering the amount that they gave up, right? He's a
Yeah.
25-year
Jeez.
old. He's in his second full season as a Nashville Predator, or a second full season in the NHL for that matter. He had half a point per game last year. He put up 24 goals. Look, it might be a similar case to the Brandon Hagel situation where last year we said, look, they gave up a lot. They gave up a lot. And we could still say that they gave up a lot. But as time goes by, does the trade get more and more worth it? Maybe, especially in that Hagel situation where now he's slotting into that top six and he's looking like a complete hockey player in that system. Is that the case for Tanner Janot? Who knows? But if there's one team that can make this trade and it could be okay, like when I say okay, like you know what I mean by that? Like
Like,
the
sure, you
backlash
did it.
won't be as bad.
Yeah.
It would be the Lightning, I think.
The back-to-back Stanley Cup champions and runner-up,
Who Well,
you know?
again, you look at the Colemans and you look at the Barclay Goodrows and then you even look at the Nick Pauls. They know how to find those middle to bottom six guys that are going to perform for you. And if that's the case this year, look, they're going to need the help. They're going into it. We'll talk about the Leafs in a second, but they're running into a team or teams that are stacking up, and let alone a team that's having one of the best seasons ever in Boston. So they're going
Mhm.
to have to make it out of a tough division
Conference.
slash conference. But yeah, but But again, is that worth it for like they're mortgaging their future right here? No, a little bit.
Well, I think they have already, and I don't mind it if I'm going for it every year, and you have all these elite players still on your roster. Screw the future. The future is gonna come at some point.
No,
You know
you're
what
you're
I mean?
100% right, but I mean, but when I say like mortgaging, like I mean to the point where this year they don't have a pick in the first 5 rounds, next year they don't have a pick in the first 2 rounds, and then the year after that in 2025 they don't have a first round pick. All I'm saying is that it's one thing to give up picks, it's another to have no picks, right? Like
Mhm.
there's barely anything. And look, they know how to draft. We've seen that based off of most of the players that they have on their roster right now. But at one point, like I don't know. I guess you can't knock them really. You can't really knock them, but
It's just once the era is over, it'll be a kind of a rough transition, but it's okay. You're winning
every
championships.
team
Who
goes
cares,
through
right?
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, and we'll get to the Leafs right away. Kyle Dubas clearly is going all in, and I don't blame him. His job's on the line. He acquired Jake McCabe, defenseman from the Chicago Blackhawks, Sam Lafferty, a fifth and two fifths, excuse me, so 2024 and 2025 for Joey Anderson, Pavel Gogolev, a conditional 2025 first, and a second in 2026. Um, so again, does not give up any significant roster spots or roster players, excuse me. Gives up another first, but he's going all in, getting that, you know, heavy defenseman, depth forward. They got a Chari, they got O'Reilly. They're going for it because they're going to run into the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Nick Paul ruined their or shattered their dreams last year, and might be Tanner Janot this year. So might as well add as many pieces as you can. I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit.
Look, they're becoming a more and more scary team to play against, and it's
Oh
funny
yeah.
to say because for years now we've talked about how we mentioned this even at the top of the episode, right? They have a very scary top 6 to play against, but after that it kind of falls off, and they lack that secondary scoring. But now they're getting bits and pieces, and even on the decor right now they're really coming together, or the decor is really coming together. So becoming more and more of a complete team here.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I was just there. Have we reached today? We have reached today. Um, February 28th. The first move of the day was Jesse Puljujarvi finally getting moved from the Oilers. He goes to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for Patrick Pustola, um, who I think is a prospect, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, look, if there's one spot he's going to really evolve, it's Carolina. Got a good coach over there, got a bunch of Finns. He'll be comfortable. He's finally out of that environment of Edmonton where it just didn't work out. Um, just when I see this trade, it's just like Edmonton, man. You know, it's just another pick that didn't work. And what could have been with all these high picks they had, they should have won 3 Stanley Cups by now. Let's be honest, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a waste. It's such a waste. How do you screw up that many times
Yeah.
when you have 2 of the best players in the league? How do you let this happen?
We'll get to it, but Ken Hollins finally put his foot in the ground and decided to make a move, but who knows how significant that will be. But yeah, you know what? I like Puljujarvi, and I think look, ultimately he'll never be the play driver that they probably expected, and I don't think he'll ever be the complementary player that they expected him to be. But in Carolina, you can stick him in a middle six role, and I think he'll be just fine, right? So
Mhm.
that's what they like. I think Carolina understands what they're going to get from their players, right? And I think the players understand what they're there to do. And I think that's what's so great about their organization and their team. Sorry, I won't go as far as saying organization. I'll say team. I think what's so great about their team is the fact that they have guys that are really willing to play their role and contribute in the grand scheme of things. So I think Puljujarvi will slot in just very, very, very nicely there.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on today, a few little small deals. Johansson to the Wild. And here, kind of out of the blue, Kyle Dubas trades Rasmus Sandin to the Washington Capitals in exchange for Eric Gustafson and Boston's first round pick. Yeah, so Gustafson and a first for Sandin. I don't know why they wrote it like this on TSN. But yeah, Sandin for Gustafson and a first. Habs legend, Eric Gustafson. Loved him or hated him. Guy did
Can
what he had
we
to
can
do.
we can we just talk about for a second because every time I hear that name, I just think back to the Jets series where he scored that big goal and he started doing the guitar celly and that was like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what the
Game
hell?
4,
Where did
game
that
4,
come
yeah.
from?
Yeah, that was like,
Wild.
bang,
But yeah,
yeah.
no, that it
I
was
always
so
think of that
fun.
too. Turned around and started going like this, and the fans are
It's
going
so
nuts, all
weird.
3 of them.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, and you're like Eric Gustafson, what?
All 3
And
fans
and
waving their
actually,
masks.
let's reminisce. They're fast. Well, let's reminisce for a second here. Are we not? I remember before even the Leafs series started, they were announcing like the lineups and they were talking about like who's gonna get in, who's gonna get out, and you had uh who was it? You had Caulfield and KK that were both scratched. But I remember being so furious that they were going with Gustafson and they were sitting someone. I don't remember
Merrill,
who it
John
was,
Merrill,
but they were sitting. It might have been Merrill, and I think I liked Merrill just because of the fact that like he had a little bit of grit, and you're in the playoffs, and you don't want to push over, right?
and he had crazy
But anyway,
lettuce.
that goal by
He had
yeah,
that
well, and
stash
that
too.
stash, man. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
wild.
cool that's a cool guy, man. John Merrill.
Yeah, I like him.
That's a guy you wanna, like, have a beer with, you know?
There you go.
Talk about his days playing Minnesota hockey. John Merrill.
Probably has
Habs
some
le
crazy
I
stories
love these
too.
Habs legends. I think they should do, like, a little like, a nice dinner of that team, you know? Should get the band back together.
Yeah, it's funny
Invite
because it
us.
feels like it was so long ago, but it wasn't actually.
Yeah.
It's been what,
Yeah.
3 years now? 2, 2, 3.
Nah, 2, 2. Yeah, 2, I think. Yeah, wow. Anyways, you damn, put us really in some, memory lane here just from this trade. But yeah, Sandin finally well, not finally, but he gets moved after a pretty messy contract negotiation down in Toronto this offseason. Um, do you mind pulling up his contract deal here? Because if I'm not mistaken, he'll
I'm
probably be
actually
an
on it as
RFA
we
at the end of
speak.
this year. It was a one-year deal?
Yeah, so it was a 2-year deal with a cap hit of 1.4 million per year, so a total value of 2.8 million. And he will expire. His contract will expire. Um, so he's in the first year of his contract, right? So it expires next year. I'm just trying to find where it would say that if he's an RFA or a UFA. But if I had to guess, he's 22, so he's definitely going to be an RFA. It's an age thing at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be an RFA. Yeah, I mean, I get. Look, like I want to hear your thoughts on it because honestly, I kind of don't know where I stand, truthfully.
Well, I think it's simply the Dubas and the Leafs just knew they wouldn't be able to lock him up long term and might as well get a first round pick back in this move. You get a defenseman that can move the puck and a first rounder that you kind of traded in prior deals. Because I think they really like Sandin. So to move him out of the blue like this before the deadline means this is our only chance at moving him before, you know, being stuck in a position where he might get offer sheeted or might lose him, you know, or might have to
For
negotiate in
free,
a weird
right?
way. Yeah, or
No,
go
I
through
get that. Yeah,
arbitration or whatever it is. Have a
I
rough
just also don't know
negotiation
how
again.
much I. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Also, to be honest, I don't really know how much I like. I think he's a solid player, right? Former first overall.
Yeah,
Jeez,
I wouldn't give up a
I
first
was
though.
like,
In
you
2023, I
wouldn't give
wouldn't
up
give
a
up a
like.
first.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, right? Like I was kind of surprised that they like Dubas was able to swing that from Washington, um, grabbing a
Yeah.
first. But
Well, it's
look, like
Boston's first. Boston's first.
Boston's first, yes, correct. But whatever, give up a first.
Mhm.
I don't look drafted in 2018. He's never really, to me at least, he's never really. He's always been solid, but nothing out of the ordinary. And I think that, like, truthfully, I think Timothy Liljegren is actually from the Leafs games that I've watched and from what I've seen is actually progressing a little bit better than he is. And again, like they have so many. Like I think right now at the moment they have like 9 defensemen or 8 defensemen. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what their rotation is gonna look like. They might
Is
have to write
is
nine
Justin
forwards and 9 defensemen, but
yeah. Is Justin Hall really a defenseman though?
he's really bad, and I really I'm like but I'm actually really happy that Dubas decided to move. I mean, I know you're gonna get to the next trade, but maybe I'll jump the gun here. Pierre Engvall. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Talk about a weird fella.
he's such a he has such an unconventional style of play. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But again, like
Uh,
you get a third round in return for him from the Isles. Like I think you're basically matching now what you gave up for Luke Shen, which again is another trade we wanted
I
to
really
talk
jumping the
about.
gun
But
here.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting a
It's
little ahead of
okay. I just
myself.
wanna the Caps, to me, you're a team that's probably gonna miss the playoffs. Let's be real.
For sure.
Um, so
Well, not for sure, but it
no, but
looks like
like
it.
even if you do make the playoffs, it's a first round exit. Um, so why are you trading first rounders? You know what I mean? Like sounds good, but when you're missing the playoffs, is he worth your first rounder? I know it's not yours. It's Boston, so it's practically, unless they get a first round exit, closer to a second round pick. But if I'm kind of in this position where we're gonna try and keep as many good players in Washington as possible until Ovechkin breaks that record.
Mhm.
I'm trying to still accumulate first rounders because I know once that record is broken, the dumpster fire begins. So, you kind of want to have some prospects in your system because I don't remember the last time he said, "Hey, that guy, that prospect in Washington, maybe Hendricks Lapierre, but like even at that, so there's never been
Yeah,
that
and
guy."
right now, I guess the only one right now is, like, probably other than Hendricks Lapierre is probably Connor McMichael, but even at that, it's
Yeah,
nothing,
McMichael, yeah, even at that, yeah, you're right.
but you know
So
what?
yeah,
Like, I would hate to be in the position that Washington is in right now because you can't go out and say we're gonna tank or we're gonna give up or we're gonna start throwing away assets because the truth of the matter is that as long as Ovechkin, like you mentioned, is a Washington Capital, there's no such thing as giving up. There's no
no.
such thing as throwing your chips into the pile, right? So it's tough because I don't think they're a good enough team to compete, let alone for a Stanley Cup. So it's like you're in a position where it's like, well, you still have to try, but is it actually worth trying because you're not getting anywhere? Like it's a
Yeah,
tough middle ground.
you have to have a basic roster, like a good, not great roster, and still slowly accumulate picks. You know, like they did with the
Right, but, like,
Orlov deal.
how
We're not
how
going to
effective
sign
is
him,
that?
so yeah, it's because the marketing team's going to love it when he breaks the record. It's going to go the publicizing is going to be crazy.
Oh, it's gonna be not only good for Washington,
You
it's gonna be
know,
good for the whole NHL, but the
it's their
truth
baby
is, right,
boy.
is like Nick right, but you look at, like, Nick Backstrom, Tom Wilson, TJ Oshie, Kuznetsov, good players, but I don't think that these are players that, like, other than Ovechkin, you don't really have that player that's gonna take you over the top, and
No, they're
their
just
defense,
mid.
of course, they're exactly, they're the
They're
definition
mid.
of the middle. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So again, the Leafs trade Pierre Engvall, then they acquire in a separate deal Luke Shen from the Canucks. So Engvall goes to the Islanders. Luke Shen comes from the Canucks. Um, and now actually we'll move on to a significant move that happened as we started recording, or right before we started recording, as we were setting up our little setup here. Ken Holland finally says, "You know what I need? I think I need a defenseman." And it took him a
One that
while to
actually
realize
plays
that.
defense.
Yeah, it took him a while to realize that, but he acquires Matthias Ekholm and a 6th round pick from Barry Trotz's Nashville Predators in exchange for Tyson Barrie, Reed Schaefer, a first and a fourth. Um, no conditions on the first, nothing on the fourth. Tyson Barrie goes the other way. Matthias Ekholm, I feel like, has been on the trade block for the past 4 years. Finally gets moved. He has a heavy cap hit, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's over 6. I don't know what the term is, though, on that deal.
I will tell you right now. He's making $6 million, and he was signed to a 4-year deal, and he's in the first year of his $6.25 million
Oof.
cap hit. Yeah.
Oof. And what's his age? What are we looking at here?
As of right now, he is 32.
Oof. Oof. Okay. Jeez.
The
All right.
only the
Good
I
on
was just gonna
Trotz.
say, yeah,
Damn.
well, good on trust, but at the same time, right? Like you're trading two bad contracts for one another, in my opinion, right? You're trading a Tyson Barry contract that's four and a
Yeah.
half million dollars with this year plus one more left. Obviously, at that it's a lot less than a 4-year contract, and you're in the first year of it for Matthias Ekholm. But again, cap wise, you're not really.
Barry has 1 year
You're not
left?
really losing out on much after this year. He has 1 more.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So he expires
It's
at the end of next season.
it's just already the Oilers are so, like, handicapped in cap space that now you're just making it more difficult in the future to do even more. Um, I would have loved for them to get Erik Karlsson, but it's too bad when
But that's
you're
not what they need though, that's the problem, in
yeah,
my
it's just
opinion.
yeah. No, if they could have added, added a Karlsson and a straight defenseman, but,
Right.
too bad they're giving out contracts like it's, monopoly money, but
Well, right now it
anyways,
says they have 2,000,000 in cap space. I don't know where that's coming from. Um,
2,000,000 is nothing though.
you're right, it is nothing in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, anyway.
Anyways, we ran through all the trades. Oh, no, Gustav Nyquist, forgot about that one. Gustav
For a 5th
Nyquist goes
round.
for a 5th round pick from the Blue Jackets to the Wild. Okay, he's hurt, right?
Correct.
So this morning, I saw some tweets about a memo that was filed by the NHL. I don't know if you saw this. A memo was filed by the NHL to all teams saying they will closely review trades about injured players if they're not able to return during the season. So let's look. Example: last year, the Leafs acquired Riley Nash at the deadline, even though they couldn't afford him because they stashed him on LTIR until the playoffs. So they acquired a player, threw him in the playoffs. Now, apparently, that's a
Mhm.
big no-no. You're not supposed to be doing that. So if this Gustav Nyquist trade happened, which it has been officialized by the league, clearly he's in a state of returning prior to the playoffs beginning. So, unless there's a lot of funny business going on around the league office,
Right.
Columbus got their 5th round pick for an injured player.
And let's not forget that the second he comes off the books, right? He's right now, I don't know if he's on LTIR or just IR. I think it says IR.
No
But
idea.
anyway, right, he cost them about 5.5 million, 5.5 million for 1 more year. I didn't know that that was necessarily something that they can afford, but
The Wild?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. They're paying 30 million to nothing, right?
but that's
Because
it,
they
right?
bought out
It's like,
the buyouts.
well, they have dead cap and yeah, Parise and Suter. That's
How
twelve
much
million
is it,
right
the dead
there.
cap? 12?
It's 12.7. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, sorry, it's more because they to O'Reilly and Orlov. That's another 3. So you're at over 15 million.
Oh, it's true. They're paying O'Reilly and Orlov. Yeah, but it was like what?
Yeah,
It was like
O'Reilly's costing them
74 pick.
1.8 million, and Orlov's costing them 1.2 million for a total
Okay, but
from those
that's
2 guys of 3 mil.
and they got what, a fourth and a
I want to say like a
let's see.
third or a fifth or something like that.
Minnesota
They're such
received
a
a
weird
fourth.
team.
Minnesota got a fourth and a fifth. So a fourth and a fifth for what, a few $1 million of cash. They're
Yeah,
just very
look, I don't
mediocre.
really.
They're very mediocre.
It,
They've always been.
but
They
again,
always will.
that's the thing, right? And it's like without, and I don't know if you've seen this stat. I saw it on Twitter, and I don't want to. I'm not gonna like. I'm not. This is not the exact stat, but they were saying something like there hasn't been a goal scored for Minnesota without Kirill Kaprizov on the ice at 5-on-5 in the last like 300 minutes of play, which is like ultimately over 3 games. And it's like, well, that's just ridiculous. They have nothing else going, and it's they lose Fiala in the offseason, and they get something in return, but was it really worth it considering that their team was in a pretty solid position in ending off last season? They were a team to be reckoned with, or they
Mhm.
weren't a team to be reckoned with. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Anyways, we'll move on to the Habs for the last few minutes of this podcast. Tonight they play the San Jose Sharks at SAP Center in San Jose. 10:30 p.m. start Eastern time. Habs have been winning of late, except for a few losses in Carolina and I forget where. At home against the Senators. Um, they're at 54 points right now, sitting at 26 in the league. Vancouver's right behind them at 53 points. Arizona's at 49. So, um, if they could start giving up places here in the standings, I'd kind of be a bit more content. Um, look, it's against San Jose, who's even worse than them, sitting at 48 points in the league. Um, so we'll see what happens in that aspect. But I'd like to hear your bold prediction.
For tonight's game,
Yep.
I don't even know if it's bold, but I'm going with a goal and an assist from Denis Gurianov. I'm stealing that one from you. I knew you wanted something
Nice.
like that,
I honestly
but
didn't think of that. I didn't think of that at all.
oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's just wouldn't it be such a Montreal thing to happen? It's like, "Go ruin the tank." Like, just, bring you in because you're a reclamation project, but go ruin the tank for us.
Yeah. I'm gonna add to that, you know? I'm gonna go with, 2 goals and an assist from Chris Tierney.
Jeez.
Don't worry about him.
Jeez.
1 goal in 1 game or 1 goal in 2 games. See if you can add another one. Another 2 and an
On a
assist.
on a good pace. And actually, I was just looking it up because I didn't wanna make a mistake, but he's going up against his former team also,
Yeah, I
Chris
was gonna
Tierney,
say he's a
so
former Shark, no? He's a former
yeah,
Shark.
he played for 4 seasons. He played, like, almost 300 games with them, so
I feel like when I think of Chris Tierney, I think of the Sharks.
yeah, see, I'm on the fence. It's either the Sharks or the Sens for me.
Nah, Sens, no, I don't think did he play anywhere else?
The Panthers for whatever 13 games
Oh,
this
yeah.
year, but other than
Okay,
that,
so he
no.
was he was in the Carlson deal, I'm guessing.
I believe so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that
Alright.
that would be fun. I mean, a few guys picking up some points
No
should be fun.
problem.
I mean, a 10:30 start, I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to stay up for that one, but I'm gonna try.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see. Those games
Yeah.
those games are kinda ridiculous, though. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I understand you're on the West Coast, so it obviously makes sense for viewers on the
It's a
West
7:30
Coast, but it's
start, yeah.
it's it's a tough it's a tough start for, the East Coast. You're looking at a 1 AM finish almost.
Well, I got used to it during the Canadian or the whatever division the hell whatever that was called, the Scotia,
Yeah.
Canada, North,
Yeah.
whatever the hell it was called, the North Division.
Yeah.
I got used to it because they were in Vancouver 8 times or in Vancouver 4 times, in Edmonton another 4 times, and you're just, like, up late and you're watching those stupid shootouts that kept going to shootout every single time in Vancouver. I had to watch GT Miller skate all the way to the board just to a shelf, you know? And you're, like, trying to fall asleep. And you know, like, at that time, we were, like, trying to make a playoff push, and you stay awake this whole time just for them to lose and
Them
shootout
to
because
lose.
Thomas
And then
'cause
you
Thomas would throw a fake between the legs or something, you know,
what
like
what was it?
you remember
And it's
that?
crazy. And we had nothing else going for us because we couldn't leave our houses, and it was like,
Yeah.
well, it's like you stay up all of that, and that's what you get in return. You get
Yeah.
that. Oh, man.
Oh, man, what a time, what a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. But
Anyways, um, so we'll leave it on this note unless another trade went down. Hold on, let me just check the phone real quick. No, nothing happened. Um, so yeah, we'll leave it on this. We're happy we did this. We hope you enjoy. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Stay safe and take care.
See ya.